All right, this video is for Tuesday, March 31st, and we are reading the Boxcar Children. We are on chapter 3. Here's our first picture, and I'm going to read it a little bit different today with the book facing me, but I'll make sure that you see the pictures as we go along, if there are any on that page. All right, chapter 3, A New Home in the Woods. At last Jessie opened her eyes. It was morning, but the sun was covered by clouds. She sat up and looked all around her, and then she looked at the sky. It seemed like night, for it was very dark. Suddenly it began to thunder, and she saw that it was really going to rain. "What shall we do? Where shall we go?" thought Jessie. The wind was blowing more and more clouds across the sky, and the lightning was very near. She walked a little way into the woods, looking for a place to go out of the rain. "Where shall we go?" she thought again. Then she saw something ahead of her in the woods. It was an old boxcar. "What a good house that will be in the rain," she thought. She ran over to the boxcar. There was no engine, and the track was old and rusty. It was covered with grass and bushes because it had not been used for a long time. "It is a boxcar," Jessie said. "We can get into it and stay until it stops raining." She ran back as fast as she could to the other children. The sky was black and the wind was blowing very hard. "Hurry, hurry," cried Jessie. "I have found a good place. Hurry as fast as you can." Henry took Benny's hand and they all ran through the woods after Jessie. "It's beginning to rain," cried Henry. "We'll soon be there," Jessie shouted back. "It's not far. When we get there, you must help me open the door. It is heavy." The stump of a big tree stood under the door of the boxcar and was just right for a step. Jessie and Henry jumped over the old dead stump and rolled back the heavy door of the car. Henry looked in. "There's nothing in here," he said. "Come, Benny, we'll help you up." Violet went in next, and last of all, Jessie and Henry climbed in. They were just in time. How the wind did blow! They rolled the door shut, and then it really began to rain. Oh, how it did rain! It rained and rained. The children could hear it on top of the boxcar, but no rain came in. "What a good place this is," said Violet. "It's just like a warm little house with one room." After a while, the rain and lightning and thunder stopped, and the wind did not blow so hard. Then Henry opened the door and looked out. All the children looked out into the woods. The sun was shining, but some water still fell from the trees. In front of the boxcar, a pretty little brook ran over the rocks with waterfall in it. "What a beautiful place," said Violet. "Henry," cried Jessie, "let's live here." "Live here?" asked Henry. "Yes, why not?" said Jessie. "The boxcar is a fine little house. It's dry and warm in the rain." Ah, here's a picture of them. I'm getting into the boxcar before the rainstorm. "We could wash in the brook," said Violet. "Please, Henry," begged Jessie. "We could have the nicest little home here, and we could find some dishes and make 4 beds and a table and maybe chairs." "No," said Benny. "I don't want to live here, Jessie." "Oh dear, why not, Benny?" asked Jessie. "I'm afraid the engine will come and take us away," answered Benny. Henry and Jessie laughed. "Oh no, Benny," said Henry. "The engine will never take this car away. It is an old, old car, and grass and bushes are growing all over the track." "Then doesn't the engine use this track anymore?" asked Benny. "No, indeed," said Henry. He was beginning to want to live in the boxcar too. "We'll stay here today anyway." "Then can I have my dinner here?" asked Benny. "Yes, you shall have dinner now," said Henry. So Jessie took out the last loaf of bread and cut it into 4 pieces, but it was very dry. Benny ate the bread, but soon he began to cry. "I want some milk too, Jessie," he begged. "You ought to have milk," said Henry. "I'll go to the next town and get some." But Henry did not want to start. He looked to see how much money he had. Then he stood thinking. At last he said, "I don't want to leave you girls alone." "Oh," said Jessie, "we'll be all right, Henry. We'll have a surprise for you when you come back. You just wait and see." "Goodbye, Henry," said Benny. So Henry walked off through the woods. When he had gone, Jessie said, "Now, children, what do you think we're going to do? What do you think I saw over in the woods?" "I saw some blueberries." "Oh, oh, cried Benny. I know what blueberries are. Can we have blueberries and milk, Jessie? Yes, Jessie was beginning, but suddenly stopped, for she heard a noise. Crack, crack, crack. Something was in the woods. Oh no. Chapter 4. Henry has 2 surprises, it says. I wonder what this is. They're in the boxcar looking out the door. Jessie whispered, "Keep still." The 3 children did not say a word. They sat quietly in the boxcar looking at the bushes. I wonder if it's a bear, thought Benny. Soon something came out, but it wasn't a bear. It was a dog, which hopped along on 3 legs, crying softly and holding up a front paw. It's all right, said Jessie. It's only a dog, but I think he is hurt. The dog looked up and saw the children, and then he wagged his tail. Poor dog, said Jessie. Are you lost? Come over here and let me look at your paw. The dog hopped over to the boxcar and the children got out. Jessie looked at the paw and said, Oh dear, you poor dog. There's a big thorn in your foot. The dog stopped crying and looked at Jessie. Good dog, said Jessie. I can help you, but maybe it will hurt. The dog looked up at Jessie and wagged his tail again. Violet, ordered Jessie, please wet my handkerchief in the brook. Jessie sat down on the stump and took the dog in her lap. She patted him and gave him a little piece of bread. Then she began to pull out the thorn. It was a long thorn, but the dog did not make any noise. Jessie pulled and pulled, and at last the thorn came out. Violet had a wet handkerchief ready. Jessie put around the dog's paw, and he looked up at her and wagged his tail a little. He wants to say, Thank you, Jessie, cried Violet. He is a good dog not to cry. Yes, he is, agreed Jessie. Now I better hold him for a while so that he will lie down and rest his leg. We can surprise Henry, remarked Benny. Now we have a dog. So we can, said Jessie, but that was not my surprise. I was going to get a lot of blueberries for supper. Can't we look for blueberries while you hold your dog? Asked Violet. Yes, you can, said Jessie. Look over there by the big trees. Benny and Violet ran over to look. Oh, Jessie, cried Benny, did you ever see so many blueberries? I guess 5 blueberries. No, I guess 10 blueberries. Jessie laughed. I guess there are more than 5 or 10, Benny, she said. Get a clean towel and pick them into it. For a while, Jessie watched Benny and Violet picking blueberries. Most of Benny's blueberries are going into his mouth, she thought with a laugh. But maybe that's just as well. He won't get so hungry waiting for Henry to come back with the milk. She carried the dog over to the children and sat down beside them, the dog on her lap. With her help, the towel was soon full of blueberries. I wish we had some dishes, Jessie said. Then we could have blueberries and milk. Never mind, said Violet. When Henry comes, we can eat some blueberries and then take a drink of milk. When Henry came, he had some heavy bundles. He had 4 bottles of milk in the bag, a loaf of brown bread, and also some fine yellow cheese. He looked at the dog. Where did you get that fine dog? He cried. He came to us, said Benny. He's a surprise for you. Henry went over to the dog who wagged his tail. Henry patted him and said, He ought to be a good watchdog. Why is the handkerchief on his foot? He had a big thorn in his foot, answered Violet, and Jessie took it out and put on the handkerchief. It hurt him, but he did not cry or growl. His name is Watch, remarked Benny. Here's a picture for you. And there they are, taking a look at the dog with Henry and Benny. Oh, is it? Asked Jessie, laughing. Watch is a good name for a watchdog. Did you bring some milk? Asked Benny, looking hungrily at the bottles. I should say I did, replied Henry. 4 bottles. Poor old Benny, said Jessie. We'll have dinner now. Or is it supper? It must be supper, said Henry, for soon we'll have to go to bed. Tomorrow we'll eat 3 times, said Jessie. Now, Jessie liked having things in order, and so she put the laundry bag on some pine needles for a tablecloth. Then she cut the loaf of brown bread into 5 big pieces. The cheese was cut into 4. Dogs don't like cheese, remarked Benny. The poor little boy was glad, too, for he was very hungry. Violet put the 4 bottles of milk on the table, and Jessie put some blueberries and cheese at each place. Blueberries, cried Henry. Jessie, you had 2 surprises for me. I'm sorry we haven't any cups, Jessie said. We'll have to drink out of the bottles. Now I'll come and sit down. So supper began. Look, Benny, said Henry, you take some blueberries, then eat some brown bread, then some cheese, then take a drink of milk. It's good, said Benny. He began to put more blueberries into his mouth. The dog had supper too. Jessie gave him bread as he lay on the ground beside her, and he drank milk out of her hand. When supper was over, there was some milk left in each bottle. We'll have the rest of the milk for breakfast, said Jessie. Tonight we are going to sleep on beds. Let's get some pine needles now. Soon the children had a big pile. Henry jumped into the boxcar, and Jessie gave him the pine needles. He made 4 beds in one end of the car. This side is the bedroom, said Jessie. What will the other side be? Asked Benny. The other side? Asked Jessie. Let me think. I guess that will be the sitting room, and maybe some of the time it will be the kitchen. Then she said, Come now, come and get washed. She took the cake of soap and went down to the brook. That will be fun, Benny, said Violet. We'll splash our paws in the brook, just as Little Brown Bear does. She knew that Benny did not like to be washed. The children were all very hot, and so they were glad to splash in the cold water. Benny put cold water and soap on his face with the others and dried his hands on a towel. We'll have to have a line to dry the towels on, said Jessie. So she took the string out of the laundry bag and tied one end of it to a tree. The other end of the string she tied to the boxcar. This made a good clothesline. When she had washed one towel and Violet had washed the other one, they hung both towels on the clothesline. It looks like home, said Henry. See the washing. He laughed. Jessie was thinking. We ought to get some water to drink before we go to bed, she said. But what shall we put it on? Put it in. What shall we put it in? Let's put all the milk into 2 bottles, said Henry. Then we can fill the other 2 with water. Good, said Jessie. You go alone to the fountain, Henry. You can hide if anyone comes along. Henry went out very quietly and soon came back with 2 bottles full of cold water. Benny drank a little, but he was almost asleep. The other children helped him into the boxcar. Then they all climbed in, Jessie carrying the dog. He lay down at once beside her. It is so hot that we'll leave the door open, said Henry. Soon they were fast asleep, dog and all. The moon came up, but they did not see it. This was the first time in 4 days that they could go to sleep at night, as children should. That's it for today. We'll start next time with Chapter 5. The Explorers Find Treasure. All right. Have a great rest of your night.